Testing, testing. Hi, folks. This is Julia. Today is my day off, and I decided to practice my YouTube recordings because I got a really cool email from my drum teacher, Miranda Rondeau. And it says, it's actually posted in her Frame Drum Circle Songs Facebook page, and it says, participating in Women Frame Drummers Share Your Story in the month of March, Women's History Month. Are you a woman who plays the frame drum? How did you discover the frame drum? What is your personal frame drum history, her story? For Women's History Month, you are invited to share your story in video. Upload it on YouTube and share it at the event page or in the Women Frame Drumming group. Your YouTube link will then be added to a playlist of women frame drummer stories. We want your stories, even if you just started. Celebrate Women's History Month sharing your drum, her story. That's her post. Can't really see it, so never mind. Okay, I don't know how to edit videos, so thank you for your patience. Here's another favorite thing that I'm using this month to not be stuck in the loop of perfection. This was a quote by Anne Lamont, a writer. I believe she's a writer. And and it was included in her YouTube video, I Don't Care Anymore, the greatest gift of getting older. And her quote is, "You've got to do it before you can do it," by Anne Lamont. I'm doing it. This is my story of how I discovered the frame drum and also how I discovered Miranda Rondeau. And it goes way back to when I first joined the women's circle in the high desert of California, where I lived around the Joshua Tree area back in 2013 is when I joined the women's circle. But then it really begins before that in 2012 when I did a drum making workshop as a gift to myself for that Valentine's Day with the drum medicine woman Lisa Starr, who continues to be my friend to this day. And before that, it keeps going before that. There were things all along the way that led up to the person I am now. So I started collecting books. When I met my second husband, I fell in love with his mother. Her name was Suzanne Nielsen. And this was one of the books on her bookshelf, Women Who Run with the Wolves. I had never heard of it before. I was intrigued. This was probably like 2006 or so. And she gifted the book to me, which I devoured. Now, even before that, when I was a young mother in my 20s, no, actually in my early 30s, I wasn't a mother in my 20s. In my 30s, so it was like the 1980s, I started learning about Mother Teresa. Before Mother Teresa, I was in the Catholic Church, and in groups there, I learned about Dorothy Day. And these were philanthropists who lived a life of service and care to the poor. So I've always felt a calling towards being in service in some way. My father gifted me this book. I would say it was the 1990s. Hildegard of Bingen's Book of Divine Works, edited by Matthew Fox. I did not pick this book up until we were in COVID in 2020. And there were all kinds of Zoom things you could do that was just taking off. And one of the ones I did was a Matthew Fox Hildegard of Bingen teaching. So very mystical. In my women's circle, we still study Joseph Rail teachings. He is Native American, First Nations mystic, still alive, retired. He's got several books out. Being in Vibration is his first book. Talks all about how we are all living manifestations of vibration. And sound explores that further through the consonants and the sacred sounds of A, E, I, O, U. Another book in our women's circle, The 13 Original Plan Mothers, which I read every month. Hi, Stephanie. That's beautiful.
It came out as a nice print after all.
That's beautiful. Stephanie, come show your shirt. And my daughter got a shirt in the mail. Da-da-da. Very beautiful. I love it. So this is a story that I read every month, and I did a vision quest where I made a shield every month back in 2016. This is the shield for March. Raise the truth. This is my frame drum. What else? Okay, through the women's circle. One of our evenings that we gathered, we talked about the goddess Inanna. And that week, I had a dream where she came to me and whispered a word, sister worlds. So, sister worlds led me into researching the goddess Inanna and creating a manuscript that looks like this. This is something that was handed out to all the participants, and they could copy people, but it wasn't sold or anything like that. It was a self-exploration therapeutic endeavor. And Sister Worlds is remembering through our shared experiences of writing. This was 2018, and there were 14 authors that year. And I began it with, who is the goddess Inanna? I was fascinated with the goddess Inanna. I still am. Now, because of this, because I was researching the goddess Inanna, I found Lane Redmond's book, When the Drummers Were Women. Lane Redmond was a frame drummer, and she had this fabulous group called the Mob of Angels in New York City. They would hold processional drumming while walking. And they performed in caves. They performed along the streets of New York. And here's a picture of them performing from her book. I devoured this book too, and I also gifted it to other people. So I had to buy multiple copies. So I looked for a drum teacher for the frame drum so Sister Worlds was 2018. COVID was 2020. I got divorced in 2019. All kinds of stuff happened. My divorce freed me up to further blossom as an individual, sovereign woman. And I keep doing that. So I found Miranda because where's my binder for Miranda? My binder for Miranda would be frame drum, Miranda Rondeau teachings, 2021. I signed up for the Heart of Frame Drum portal. And there's my order confirmation, February 11th, 2021, which was fabulous. And I started learning songs and stepping and drumming to these simple songs that were beautiful. And they were written by Miranda. So what I like about Miranda is she's one of the most um like you can sense her honesty. It comes through in her teachings. There is no pretentiousness at all. Um and you can sense her devotion to her craft. And her ability to teach is it's filled with humility, the feeling of humility and um knowing what we're holding, knowing the history of it and being a good force in the world and using it in a good way that's filled with joy. And I'm really a joyful being. That's my purpose on this earth. Um, so during one of the practice sessions, I was staying with a friend at where she was living at the time, which was somewhere in San Diego County on this communal property that has to this day a labyrinth and other people. And she was there for a few months, I guess. She was traveling around that year, just exploring different areas. And she invited me to stay. And I did. And I said, I have a drum class and I don't want to miss it. And she said, that's okay. You can do it in my room. So when it came time to do the drum class, oh, she also told me, she asked me who my teacher is, and I told her about Miranda, and she said, I think that she's going to be visiting here in a couple days to view the property as a potential resident. And I said, oh, what a small world. That's so fascinating. And she was actually going to be viewing the room that my friend was staying in. So when we met for class the next day, I told Miranda, I said, I'm taking this class from a room that I understand you're going to be looking at. And she ended up moving into that same room. So it was just a very interesting synchronicity that felt sort of like add a girl, you're on the right path, keep going. That's how I feel when I get synchronicities like that. And it's just Miranda says that she remembers that too, and it's something that connects us. Let's see if do I want to talk about anything else. Um, so the frame drum, I would like to say I'm a dedicated frame drum player. However, even though I love it and I can play, doom, I can play doom. That means water. Tech, that means fire. Brush, that's the air. Um, Ka, I almost forgot. Sorry. It's like landing on a lily pad. That's ground, earth, mother, earth. I'm really good at following along with other people playing, so I love to hop on a workshop, one day workshop with Miranda once in a while. I don't practice. I'm sorry. I love it. I need a practice group to practice, and I haven't found one locally. So Miranda says, just pick up the drum once in a while, just play a few strokes, play a pattern. I try to do that so that my drum gets played with and it feels joy. How am I? 15 minutes? Okay. I've also participated on a council drum that is part of prayer dancing circle that I'm a member of. And that is through the Joseph Rail tradition also of mysticism. And I'm thankful to all these teachers and all these tools that I've accumulated along the way because they give my life such a deep meaning that's filled with beauty. And I explore that in my own art. And I explore that when I go on hikes in nature and I sing a song that is resonating with me that day, just to myself. And it sort of makes everything make sense. It lines up and it feeds me. It like feeds me like food and it helps make everything else easier. I'm not one for studying the rules in order to make magic happen. I am one who lives in harmony with all that is, and magic happens without any effort whatsoever. That's something I learned from another teacher, um, Puma Quispe Singona from South America. Through several teachings I was a part of with Puma, I studied the Mesa teachings, where we use stones and they each hold a purpose and we arrange them in a certain way on a mat. And that's used in blessings and in praying for things. Um, Beautiful again. Also, I felt like I would have needed to be raised in that tradition from a young person my whole life to understand those teachings properly. My takeaway from those teachings is it must be effortless. And for me that's what I am. All that I've learned through these tools, I use within all of regular being alive on this earth, and it helps me to see the beauty way and to live in alignment. And then I see the magic happening around me and it touches my own life. So thank you, Miranda, for being a part of my journey, for being one of my blessed teachers. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this video. I look forward to seeing yours. Happy Women's Month 2026.